I will call to order the February 14th, 2023 Kingman Unified.
Act One is a nonprofit organization certified in one state in America. For the past 11 years, our in-person field trip program has served students within 75 miles of the In June 2022, I began planning a pilot program for rural outreach. As a teacher, former teacher of performing arts entertainment, I know the challenges of transporting students to Phoenix and Las Vegas for high-quality performances. I wanted to explore the possibility of bringing these experiences to students in our rural. Last week, on Monday, February 6th, Child's Play Theater from Tempe, Arizona presented a professional production of Tomas and the Library Lady, served to fifth grade students in the high school auditorium. This was a collaboration with the high school, KUSD Transportation, and Act One. Funding was provided by Home, and logistical support was provided by Act One. This coming Thursday, 2 days from now, a similar collaboration with Lee Williams High School, because Shakespeare Festival is going to present Othello. For 9th through 12th grade students during the day, and there will also be a public performance Thursday night at 7 p.m. Admission is free. Donations are accepted. Funding for this is provided by the KRC Foundation, Lee Williams Student Council, and work from Act One. We have also brought our virtual reality experiences, Arts Immersion, Antonita and Sorbat. There's free to Title I schools for children 5th through 12th grade. The Rural Outreach Program is a model that Act One is to replicate at other rural communities across our state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Else wishing to
Friday mornings, and so love to see all board members sometime that week to talk budget revisions and a sneak peek at next year's budget. And then when we return from spring intersession and spring break, we would love a strategic planning and curriculum and assessment workshop. And so sometime between the March and April board meeting would be great for that. So direction from our board on how to proceed, please.
Okay, thank you. That's it?
Yeah, and you tell us, or you just want to work through board member or board secretary Cliff Leitner to set it up?
I think if we work through Wendy, that'd be a good way to do it.
And then we will post it and encourage staff and the public to join us to learn a little bit about the fun world of budgeting and the super fun world of strategic planning. And a thank you to board member Grant, who joined our high school collaboration meeting a couple weeks ago. I hope you found that insightful, where we talk about programming, staffing, and courses at the high school level. We had a middle school meeting today, which was awesome, and then an elementary Thursday. So if you'd like, I'll send that schedule out. Any of you could join us at any time.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
you. You're typically 2 hours.
I just want to comment that for me, it would probably be better later in the afternoon.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 6, approval of routine orders of business. Documentation concerning the matters on the consent agenda may be reviewed at the Kingman Unified District Office, 3033 McDonald Avenue. Any board member may request an item to be pulled off the agenda for further discussion. Do we have any board member wishing to pull an item from the consent agenda?
There are some corrections that need to be made, at least one pretty significant one in the minutes. And then I did want to ask a couple of questions about the fundraising. I'm all for fundraising. I just wanted to ask a question. So I don't know if that's, you just pull them now? Or,
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Which items are those?
it's A and fundraising one. I got mine. G.
G. So we pull up A and G, and with items A and G pulled, looking for a motion to approve the routine orders of business.
I'll make a motion to approve the routine orders of business.
Got a motion by Ms. Henry, second
I'll second.
by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now let's move on to item A, approve minutes.
It's just a correction under the organizational meeting of the governing board, item A, where it says swearing in of newly elected board members. It has Tony Grant and Lori Henry listed.
Good catch.
So it's just,
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
I'll take it.
no, I just figured that was probably needed to be corrected.
Okay,
The other ones are just maybe a typo, and I don't want to be that in depth because then I'll miss them the next time.
okay.
But that one was important.
So that takes care of item A. And moving on to item G, approve school fundraisers.
Yeah, which is the fundraiser. So as looking through the list, the packet of different fundraisers, there were some of them that had already happened. So if they've already happened and then we come to approve them, such as the dances that were on Thursday the 9th. I think they're all great. I don't have a problem with them, but it seems kind of awkward to approve something that had already occurred. And then some of the fundraiser items, they're scheduled to be tomorrow and the next day. So obviously there was some pretty significant planning that had already went into those to be implemented the day after the board meeting. And again, I'm all for fundraisers, so I don't want to make that a negative statement. Just
No, it's not negative, and we completely understand. It's a pretty tight schedule, and we ask, I know, the finance office and the board secretary asks our schools to give ample notice. Usually we like to see them schedule most of them out for the entire year. You'll see a lot of them come through early in the year. But occasionally organizational logistics pushes them close. If you didn't approve one that started tomorrow, it clearly wouldn't start tomorrow. And then I have seen on occasion over the years, a few of them that kind of happened without going through. Sometimes it'll happen and then they'll remember they need to get board approval. So we want to kind of circle back. And then if you don't, then we know going forward, that's a pretty important one to get before you ahead of time.
And then my actual, thanks for those clarifications. And then For the KHS, they have a student council fundraiser scheduled for February 23rd through the 2nd. They're calling it a gaming tournament. When I see hear the word gaming, there's lots of things that go through my mind. So I was just curious as to what type of gaming it is. Is anybody?
Is our Kingman High, can you explain that?
Video games. Good.
What kind of
Great.
video games, Mr. Ward?
Um,
Safe ones?
yeah, like,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. Like, some part of the
So esports is it's an approved
AIA.
AIA gaming system. There will be no gambling. That's a legitimate question. I appreciate you asking.
It wouldn't be the most awkward thing that has probably happened. Okay. All right. Thank you for those clarifications.
You're welcome.
Dr. Warner, as superintendent, she also has she can approve a fundraiser if they didn't get it onto the board on time. She can approve the fundraiser and if they list it on, right, for it to go to the board. So some of those that you see that are passed, they've been approved by Dr. Dorner, but then they still have to put it on there.
And then if you say after, right, thank you,
Yeah,
Board
I was
Secretary.
I didn't need to put kids
I know.
time to talk about this, and so we're gonna have them start putting on there approved by superintendent and the team.
But then if you then have a conversation and say, oh, that's not our vision or the direction we're going, that tells me to be mindful about that going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be looking for a motion on approving item A of the minutes and item G on the fundraisers into the approval of the routine orders of business. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Ms. Henry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item 7. First reading of changes in policies as recommended by ASBA, Arizona School Board Association.
Board President Jacks, members of the board, this is a discussion only item that gives you the first reading of recommended policy changes. I'll just, you have them in your packets. I'm sure you read them. I'll just give you a brief description for those who are watching and in the audience. The first one, number 739, is parental consent. If we plan to have sexual education being taught in the schools, which we do not, but if we did or moved in that direction, then you can see the exhibit is a parental consent form. So every parent has the right to accept or deny that instruction. Policy 740, library material selection and adoption. You'll see the exhibit in there that lets the parents know the purchase is going to be made on behalf of the library. There will be a period of review. They have the right to see those materials and submit any input on those materials. So no, that's a new one. No library materials will be purchased without parental notification and an opportunity for review and input. And then we have the policy 741, admission of students in foster care regulation. This is just another piece on determining the best interest determination of each student. And what it basically says is if you are in foster care, then you can remain in your home school. We'll provide transportation. Enrollment should occur immediately. There should be no interruption in the education of the child unless the team, which is a collaborative conversation between the district and the child care agency, decides in the best interest of the student there should be a move. Perhaps the foster care family is near a school and everyone determines that a change is in the child's best interest and that school is to enroll them immediately with no interruption, even if records are not available. It outlines in a little more detail the care we take care of for our foster students. 742 is exclusions and exemptions in school attendance. This has to do with chronic illness, I believe it is. And we actually just had a meeting this morning among our peers here. We have 2 different situations where students may not be in school regularly. One is chronic attendance, where there's a health condition that might preclude them from being in school daily. It could be asthma or something else. And then there's homebound. And homebound is where they're receiving their instruction in a home environment for a lot of reasons. On the homebound forms, the exhibits, we are learning that you need a medical doctor's certification, right? On the chronic illness one, it says nurse practitioner or another health person. We've been in discussions on should that be aligned because it does get confusing, the difference between chronic illness and homebound. But for purposes of this policy reading, the exhibit that you see will leave a signature line for a nurse practitioner or other healthcare person. And then finally, the parental involvement in education, the form that parents can use to request any information from a school district. If there's any information a parent wants, they could fill out that exhibit, submit it, and it gives us a kind of a clock or a time frame from which we need to get that information to the parents. So again, that's just a first reading. And at the next meeting, you can come back with thoughts or questions that you have on
All right, thank you. That was a discussion item only, so we'll move on to item number 8. Approve recommendation to remove Aaron Sherman and add Colleen Mulholland and Donette Piccinetti as approver signers for the 2022-2023 school year.
Mr. President, members of the board, we would just like to remove Aaron Sherman and add myself and Donette Pincinetti as approved signers for accounts.
Okay, thank you. Any comments by the board?
No.
Okay,
It's for the bank accounts.
any other comments or questions? Okay, looking for a motion to remove Aaron Sherman and add Colleen Mulholland and Donette Piccinetti as approved signers for the 2022-23 school year.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion by Ms. Grant. Looking for a second. Second by Mr. Cox. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 9. Approve sole source declaration to the Kiev Group School Case Simplified for the 2022-23 school year.
Mr. President, members of the board, we would like to bring Kev Group School Class Cash Simplified into a few of our schools to start out as a test. Kingman Middle School, White Cliffs, Lee Williams, and Kingman High. The student stores will be using this program for the remainder of the school year. The school cash platform will allow students to use credit cards and debit cards in the schools. In the student stores, funds will be deposited directly into the district accounts. Transaction reports and cash deposits will be used to reconcile balances weekly. Depending on the outcome of our trial run, we would like to move forward with the program at all sites. Moving forward, we would include the ability to add student fees to be paid online using credit cards, debit cards, e-checks, or preloaded funds, and email notifications could be sent out for new fees and reminders of overdue payments to families. Accepting online payments would decrease the amount of money handled across the district. Annual cost for the program is $26,500 after the initial startup and training costs of $4,300. A fee of 4% plus 10 cents will be added for each transaction.
Are we currently using any form of electronic payment?
No, ma'am. Everything is cash or check.
Okay. And then does that come out of whose side? Like who's going to be responsible for that?
Ours. So it'd be something to keep in mind when setting prices for different things.
Any other comments or questions?
Question, what exact age in school? I went to high school half a century ago.
So it could be, my best example would be if there's a fee for a field trip, instead of the parents having to pay with a check or cash, they could pay it online using a credit card or even come into the schools to pay.
Some of the CTE courses have lab fees or additional fees for materials.
So with the Power School SIS, what exactly is that?
It's just an IGA or a co-op that the schools use it's like a blanket for this particular company.
And it's in all the schools?
Any school that is a part of that co-op can use it.
Okay. And what's done through it so far?
For us personally,
Mhm.
I do not have that information off the top of my head, but I can definitely pull it for you.
And so we're wanting to maybe use the school cash simplified because it's already integrated into this particular one. And then what the cost is $26,000 a year plus the fees. So the fees are going to that company.
Correct.
On top of the 26,500
Correct.
that we paid.
26,000 also includes all the machines, all the support that we get. There's a 12-week timeline of rolling this out. extensive support. The company seems very interested in making sure that we are properly equipped to handle everything.
Finance
Um,
Director Mulholland, isn't that for all the schools?
Initially, we only want to do the secondary
Is the 26,000 for all the
for
schools?
all the schools.
Right.
Correct.
So the 26 would cover all campuses, not just the 3 or
Not just
4 that she
4,
mentioned.
okay. And the Power School SIS, is it something that we plan to get rid of anytime soon? It seems kind of odd to purchase something that would be integrated if it's something that's about to be outdated or
Yeah.
something like that.
So we get a discount, this year because from the increase.
Yes, it's
So
a trial.
it would be 4 schools, but yes, it would not come to the total of 26,500 this school year.
And the 4%, in other words, if it's gonna cost the parent $20, something for the child, it's gonna end up being, what, $22?
No, so the 4% plus 10 cents would go to the company, Kev Group, for a transaction fee. We would then get the remaining balance.
Not from the district, not from the family.
Correct.
So it's not a tax to the family, it's a cost to the district. And one of the reasons we're excited about piloting it, because we've always wondered, in my 6 years as a high school principal, the amount of times we could not collect a fee, someone didn't have money to get into an event. There's just so many times that money needed to transact or change hands. People don't carry checks anymore, and cash isn't on hand. So the pilot is to do an analytical study on the cost benefit ratio. I bet we take in more than we would have before, and that covers the fees to a surplus. And if not, we'll come back and tell you we were wrong.
Well, or like you said, there will be, if you decide to use the program, then you will look at what your fees are
Right,
charging.
exactly.
Look at that additional cost.
Right. Convenience fees are very expensive in the world. It makes us
Yes.
realize everyone that takes Apple Pay or any kind of digital format, I'm sure the larger the corporation, the smaller the fee because they want to keep it. But convenience fees are definitely a reality.
Any other questions or comments? No. Looking for a motion on approve sole source declaration to Kev Group School Cash Simplified for the 2022-23 school year. I got a motion by Mr. Cox, looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 10. Approve books that have been on display for the required 60 days, beginning December 13th, 2022. These novels will be used at the middle school level.
Mr. President, members of the board, these stories in the first title, Refugee, evoke empathy from the reader. Students will be able to make connections to their lives as well as what they are learning in social studies. Events in the novel are taken from real historical events. The novel supports literature standards as well as supporting world events. And for the second title, this book is grade level standards and curriculum. This novel gives students an opportunity to delve into different characters, how the author uses word choice to give us a comprehensive description of these characters, and using that information to analyze details around the mystery. Students must use explicit information from the novel along with complex inferences to solve the mystery. It also supports our strategic plan initiative to provide guaranteed curriculum at all grade levels and core subject areas.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I know that these books were ones that were already on display, but
Correct.
until it came up on the agenda, I wasn't aware of them. So the refugee, I do that one does sound like a wonderful book to be read. And I was going to ask where they were going to be using it.
Eighth grade.
Eighth grade.
Mhm.
And you said in the social studies unit then,
Correct.
not just an English novel that they would be
Correct.
reading.
It supports both standards. I believe the teacher who is using them, is she here? So if you have any more questions, I'm sure she can answer
how are you planning to incorporate the book and the studies? What type of projects were maybe you planning to use to go along with the book? Mhm. Correct.
And that is our true story.
They leave Germany and they travel to Cuba, and so that we read this novel at the same time that social studies is talking about these events that are happening.
Do you have any specific like projects?
We don't do projects in our room with it. I've tried to teach to novels in the past, but we have such a transient population and attendance issues, and we don't have enough novels, so it's really hard to get people who are not in school or come in and out to have access to all the curriculum. So our social studies teacher can cover some of those historical connections in his class.
Also,
Thank you.
I'm sure they'll develop more curriculum once it gets approved. Then they can start diving in and developing the curriculum that goes along with it.
Thank you.
Hey, any other questions or comments?
Actually, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
So when I did the research on the and then there were none, it actually gave me the age group for 14 and over, which would be high school versus junior high. And then they're turning 13 and 14.
Correct. Yeah. Eighth grade, ninth grade.
Yeah. So I was just curious because it also said that there was very little educational value necessarily attached to this particular book. So I did read kind of like the Cliff Notes version. I will do better in the future of actually reading the books.
So I have read this book, and it's something that I still remember today. It's an amazing book. It used to be under a different title.
Correct. It was originally in 1939 published.
Yeah.
Shoot. I
12
don't
Little
remember the
Indians.
exact name. Yeah.
Yeah. I have that here.
And it is a phenomenal book.
And so you see the educational value.
Absolutely. I reference it
even with the drinking, drugs, and smoking, and the violence and the scariness. I'm just, it sounds to me like a high school book versus a junior high. I guess that was my conundrum. And then just making sure it wasn't something that we were just reading, because it says that basically all of the visitors die one by one.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I understand your inferences to analyze details and try to solve the mystery. I just wonder if there's a better one. But
I feel like it has a lot of critical thinking, a lot of applied applications, because it is kind of like the plot is, they're all kind of stranded, and then you have to deduct like what's going on. There's a lot of interpersonal connections that are occurring. And so the fact that it's as relevant today as it was when it was written back in 1939, that's phenomenal.
Well, I don't disagree.
I just think it's a great book.
The age group was my most concern, and just making sure it wasn't being read for the shock factor that there was more stuff going along with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we're looking for approval for the book Refugees by Alan Gratz at the middle school level, and approval for And There Were None by Agatha Christie at the middle school level.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Ms. Grant. Looking for a second. Got a second by Ms. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
A motion carries. Moving on to item 11, books on display for the required 60 days beginning February 13th, 2023. These novels will be used at the high school level.
Mr. President, members of the board, these are all math books that are high school level, and they're just being put on display. We'll be coming back to you in 60 days for approval.
Comments, questions?
Will this be replacing the Glencoe Math Matters 1 through 3 that's listed in the curriculum or just used in supplement to that? So I went to the website where it has all the curriculum.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that's
Yeah.
what it was
Yeah,
replacing.
it would be replacing our curriculum. It would not be just supplemental.
Okay, so it'll be replacing the math matters, and then I know this is item number 12, but I think it goes along with it, the integrated resources. So when I went online to look at the performance matters, which looks to me like it matched the math to see what that was, they're all password protected. Is there a way that we can get those?
Oh
to
yeah,
be able to look
absolutely.
at that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are we on number 12?
No, we're not.
Okay.
It just,
Sorry.
they kind of go hand in hand. One's your written book and one's your online platform, so.
I was just going to mention that the textbooks that are on display are for integrated math 1, 2, and 3, which would be used in those classes at the high school. We also do have Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 being taught with current books. So those books would be continued to be used in Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. The integrated math textbooks would be used in the integrated math classes. So the Glencoe that are currently approved would be for the Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2.
Okay. And the integrated are more of a spiral curriculum. One of the movements that you'll be hearing about when we have our board workshop, probably, would be us trying to customize to the student needs, where the ACT is given as the state summative exam in the junior year. And so if we follow our traditional trajectory with math, it's algebra and then geometry and then algebra 2 and then the fourth math of a higher level. And so then when you're at a junior level and you're taking the ACT, which covers algebra and a lot of geometry, very little algebra 2, I believe. You're having to refer back to your freshman year, and then your geometry was, closely aligned to that year. And so an integrated math would allow the teacher to spiral back to algebra and the geometry and then some algebra 2 concepts, depending on the level of integrated, correct? And so this is sort of a phase 1. Some of our students are in those classes now, while others are in the traditional, as Director Albin said. But you will hear more about this as we go forward. This is the period of review, and then we'll give you a lot more information as we close this chapter.
So it's not actually replacing anything?
No, not yet, but it could be, depending on board's vision and direction.
Correct. Right now, most students, well, I shouldn't say most students, there are a pathway of students that follow the Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2 pathway, and there is a select group of students that are currently in integrated math 1, 2, and 3, and their teachers don't currently have a textbook, which is why we're looking at adopting this integrated math textbook. And as we've been looking at these textbooks for adoption, teachers have really been intrigued with the spiraling of the curriculum, like Dr. Dorner was explaining, that it keeps revisiting concepts through Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 are spiraled all together. So. Yes, for the most part, they have a choice. And we're looking at kind of streamlining that choice and having various outlined pathways based on what students want to do after high school, whether they want to move on to college or career, and we can customize their pathway based on their future goals.
And but it's a goal eventually to move everything over to the integrated.
That's the current discussion that we're having with. Exactly. Correct.
And funny question, but are we getting the teachers textbooks also? I mean, it's great to have these books, but if the teachers don't have kind of plan, they can use books.
Yes, absolutely. And we're looking at training for teachers on the textbooks and giving teachers time to look at how things could change for them if their math subjects are changing.
And definitely getting their input. They're the experts in the field. Yeah. We won't make any decisions without teachers. Right. And we know from conversations with them and with principals that oftentimes that integrated is the best approach.
And we always have professional development whenever we end up approving some curriculum. We always have professional development for the teachers so we can have a successful program.
There's a lot of work. I like it. I was a teacher. And
He's not math fired.
See Mr. Moreski after the meeting.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on to item 12. Approve website to be used as supplemental resources for all high school math courses.
Mr. President, members of the board, this website is a completely free. Actually, our math teachers found it. So they're all excited to use it, and then it would only be used as supplemental.
Comments or questions by board members?
We like free.
What?
So I was making a joke. Said we like free.
Okay,
That was just
so we're good. All right, moving on to item 13, approve new course for CTE high school program.
Mr. President, we need a vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve the website for the integrated math.
Got a motion by Ms. Grant, looking for a second.
I'll second that.
By Ms. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Yeah, I got all excited about free. Okay, item 13, approve new course for CTE high school program.
Mr. President, members of the board, we're just asking for you to support and approve the new program for CTE. This also promotes our guaranteed curriculum at all grade levels in high school. If you have any questions, Ms. Albin or Ms. Bro are here to answer.
Okay, any questions or comments by board members?
Career and technical education.
CTE are those courses that we work in collaboration with the WAVE JTED group.
These are set to begin for the next school year, correct? Not
Yes.
And we currently have business classes, and Mr. Ward, if you wanted him to explain any differently, this is a remodel of yours. I'm guessing, no, not yours? Oh, okay, I take that back. It's not a remodel of Mr. Ward's. It's just, it's a new curriculum for the business and instruction.
Any other comments or questions?
No, I'm good.
I have a comment, and that is that I think more practical would make education for our students better it is. Again, I'm a big fan of Mike Rowe and good job.
Very good. Looking for a motion then for approval of introduction to business A and introduction to business B.
I'll make the motion to approve the new course for CTE, Introduction to Business A and Introduction to Business B.
Okay, got a motion by Ms. Grant. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Henry. I'm sorry, Mr. Cox. Sorry about that. By Mr. Cox. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Moves us on to item 14. Approve proposed course changes for the following course. It looks like a change in
It's just
numbering system.
Yeah, it's just a change in title and, like you said, number. This change goes with our ABOR approved. ABOR is the site,
Arizona Board of Regents.
correct? So we try to make or get as many courses that are ABOR approved for our college-bound students. So this will make it an English credit, and it's ABOR approved.
And it's already a class that's being taught currently. It would just give them actual credit instead of elective.
Correct. And it would be a different title because the course right now under that title is not ABOR approved.
Okay. So it's a good thing.
Yes, it's a good thing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, do I have a motion for the approved change?
I'll make the motion to approve the change.
Okay, got a motion by Ms. Henry, looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item 15, approve a new course, Korean 1A/B.
Mr. President, members of the board, we're asking for approval for Korean 1A and B.
Okay, any comments or questions?
Do we have an in-person teacher? for that?
We do,
Awesome.
they are here. There we are.
This would be offered at Kingman High School, correct?
That's great.
Yes.
Okay, looking for,
So,
yeah,
don't mind me asking, and are you're going to Korea?
Yes.
And besides Korean, I'm assuming the school has Spanish. And what other language?
We have KUSD offers Russian, Spanish,
Korean.
French, German. Am I missing one, Ms. Elvin?
But there's a difference. Live classes, we have live Spanish on both high school campuses. We have live Russian on Lee Williams. Now, if you approve, live Korean on Kingman High, and then online French and German.
That's true. We have school district never entertained possibility. Very popular language, you know. Very
So you'll be teaching math and Mandarin. We are all.
You better be learning now.
Jerry and I are always willing to put course requests in. If someone's fluent in a language and there's an interest in the course selection on a campus, we're all for bringing it to the board. Sorry, I should have let you.
so looking for a motion to approve Korea 1/AB.
I'll make the motion to accept, to approve the new course in Korean, 1A and B.
Got a motion by Ms. Henry. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Yay. Thank you.
Moving on to item 16, possible action on a recommendation to ratify the termination of Taylor Morphew, paraeducator 4-5, for reasons stated in the confidential memorandum to the governing board.
Mr. President and members of the board, for the reasons, as you stated, that were listed in the memo, confidential memo to the governing board, we are making a recommendation that the governing board ratify the termination of Ms. Taylor Morphew effective January 17, 2023.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for, as reasons stated in the confidential memorandum to the governing board for the termination of Taylor Morphew?
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion by Ms. Grant. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Moving on to item 17, possible action on a recommendation to ratify the termination of Janet Felton, bus monitor, for reasons stated in the confidential memorandum to the governing board.
Mr. President and members of the board, again, given the information provided in the confidential memo to the governing board, we are recommending the ratification of termination of Ms. Janet Felton effective January 5, 2023.
So I had a question. So and I don't know if now's the right time to ask, but nothing was really stated in the confidential memo. Like it didn't tell us anything. And so I know it's an at-will position. So why is it coming before the board? Because we don't have enough information to make a decision, in my opinion.
Did you have?
So Thank you for your question. The governing board certainly can pull the item from the agenda and it can be brought forward to a different, to the next meeting.
Okay.
But only the governing board has the authority to hire employees and terminate the employment of employees. And so we do kind of our due process on our side and make sure that we're conducting fair and complete investigations. And then we bring forward the recommendation, not necessarily with all the specifics, however, to the governing board for consideration. Does that answer? That answer for you?
So
Yeah, it's just hard to make a decision when you don't have all the information.
Right.
we can either table this item or move forward with the
What-
board approval.
I guess for me, my one question, and I don't know if it's appropriate to ask it out loud, so if it's not, you can just say it's not appropriate. But like she said, we didn't get a lot of specifics, and I would just wonder if was there an opportunity for retraining, given this particular situation, or is what happened not worth that effort?
Thank you for the question.
And maybe
I-
you shouldn't answer, and I'm okay with that, but I just
Right. Well, and I will attempt to answer without giving specifics.
Correct.
But what I can say is we did feel that we do go and gather all of the information. We did feel in this particular matter that what occurred was of such substance that it did, sorry, it did lead us to make this recommendation to go ahead and terminate.
So,
That's us.
Yeah, board. Yeah.
so I think these might be legitimate, proposals or motions. But like some of the others comment, I just don't know enough to vote, so I didn't vote on this motion. Probably wouldn't vote on this because I just don't know enough. I trust that these are legitimate motions, but at this point,
What would be the impact if the item was tabled?
I think it would be fine to pull it from this agenda and bring it back to the March meeting. And I do thank you for your feedback, and that's helpful to me as I prepare future memos to the board, so I can certainly include more information. With this particular situation, there was video that we reviewed, and so there was fairly clear evidence of what had transpired. But we can certainly remove it from the agenda and bring it back, and I can provide more information if you would like.
So do we have a motion to table this item?
I'll make the motion to table.
A motion by Ms. Grant. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Ms. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so item 17 is tabled. Moving on to item 18, possible action on a recommendation to approve the release from contract of Kendall Spohr, teacher, with the recommendation that liquidated damages be waived for reasons stated in the confidential memo to the governing board.
Mr. President and members of the board, we are recommending Ms. Ford turned in her resignation with an effective date of January 12, 2023. This was part of something that was extensive and we looked into thoroughly, and we strongly recommend releasing her from the remainder of her 2022-23 employment contract without the imposition of a liquidated damages fee, since we are recommending accepting the resignation, and with an effective date of January 12, 2023.
Any comments or questions?
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation of Kendall Spoor for the remainder of her contract without damages.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 19, possible action to approve the recommendation to reclassify administrative assistant federal programs to classified coordinator federal programs and reclassify the current incumbent Wendy Kepler retroactive to July 1st, 2022, and authorize the staff to issue a revised at-will employment notice and retroactive pay in the amount specified in the memorandum to the governing board.
Mr. President and members of the board, as part of the district's commitment to recruit and retain highly effective staff, a recent job analysis revealed the essential functions of the administrative assistant federal programs have been elevated at the beginning of this fiscal year and are commensurate with other classified coordinator positions within the district. A particular note are the position's essential functions related to grant compliance, auditing and tracking, outreach to immigrant and migrant children and families, and coordination of Title I income eligibility forms, all duties of which have a significant monetary implications for the district. For these reasons, staff is recommending the approval of the reclassification of the position from administrative assistant federal programs to classified coordinator federal programs, which is a school support 7, and the reclassification of the current incumbent, Wendy Kupleitner, retroactive to July 1, 2022. And then staff further recommends that the governing board authorize staff to issue Ms. Kupleitner a revised at-will employment notice for the period July 1 through December 31, 2022, and an at-will employment notice effective January 1, 2023 for the amount stated in the memo to the board.
Any comments or questions?
This won't create another position, right? You wouldn't be trying to get another admin assistant. That's it.
So people can do what you mentioned here.
She's
Now, so
There would not be a new employee added to the budget. They're just reclassifying her duties. With the new title, she'll continue to do all the things.
So it's more like she's already been doing all of this.
Yeah,
she's
she's
already
been doing all
doing.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
with our great appreciation.
Yes.
Do I have a motion approving Wendy Kupleitner into the classified coordinator federal programs position? A motion by Mr. Cox.
Second.
Second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Congratulations, the motion carries. You getting paid for what you've been doing?
Yay.
Item 20, possible motion to move into an executive session for Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03 regarding requests to be released from the remainder of their FY 2022-23 employment contracts. We have Cecilia Rosales and Kimberly Benton. Cecilia, are you with us today? Okay. And is Kimberly here as well? Kimberly's on. Okay. But we do have Cecilia. We will have to have a possible motion to move in.
Mr. President and members of the board,
Yes.
Mr. Jacks, as you mentioned, we do have Ms. Rosales here with us this evening. In the event that you would like to go into executive session and potentially invite her in to hear more about her request to be released from her employment contract. I can also participate in that conversation if you would like more information from me.
Okay, looking for a motion to move into executive session.
I'll make
Is
the
that what
motion
we
to
need to
move in.
Only if you don't have to go into executive session.
I think
From my understanding, we need to have some discussion, so.
Well, I would make the motion to move into executive session since she came.
I second.
I feel that we should at least hear her out. But I think if what the question was happening is, can we do it after we do the rest of the business? Well, we need to pause now and then.
Yes. Okay, so looking for a motion.
I made a motion.
I
Lori
second.
I
seconded.
got a motion by Ms. Henry, second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're going to be moving into executive session, so we'll have to ask everyone else to Okay, we will go back into session and looking for a possible motion to reconvene the regular session for any action resulting from the executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Henry, a second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moves us on to item number 22, possible action on request by Cecilia Rosales to be released from the remainder of her FY 2022-23 employment contract.
Mr. President and members of the board, staff has a multi-part recommendation. So staff recommends the governing board deny the request of Cecilia Rosales to be released from the remainder of her fiscal year 2022-23 employment contract. Staff further recommends that the governing board direct staff to work with Ms. Rosales on returning to her position at Wallapai Elementary School on February 21st, 2023, and to also resolve the issues she presented as part of her reasons for resigning, and I should say participate in resolving the issues she presented. Should Ms. Rosales choose not to return to her teaching position with the district on February 21st, staff recommends that the governing board direct staff to report the unprofessional act to the Arizona Department of Education and to assess a liquidated damages fee in the amount of $2,500.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I will make the motion.
Got a motion by Ms. Grant, second by Mr. Cox. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 23, possible action on the request by Kimberly Benton to be released from the remainder of her FY 2022-23 employment contract.
Mr. President and members of the board, staff makes a recommendation to accept Kimberly Benton's resignation effective February 16, 2023, and to release her from the remainder of her 2022-23 certified employment contract without the imposition of a liquidated damages fee for the reasons stated in the confidential memo to the board.
I will make the motion to accept her resignation.
I'll
as
second.
stated.
I have a motion by Ms. Grant, a second by Ms. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Possible motion to move into an executive session for Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.03 regarding personnel action concerning Darrell Martin.
Mr. President and members of the board, I do not believe Mr. Martin is here this evening. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask of me in executive session, I'm happy to provide you with additional information or ask questions.
Any comments or questions on this item? So we'll be looking for a motion to termination of Mr. Martin's employment effective February 14th, 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Ms. Henry.
Second.
Got a second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And we took care of that item as of item 26. Moving on to item 27, approve the listed donations. We often kind of joke about this a little bit, in that Ms. Weiser has always been the person that jumps right in there and wants to show appreciation to the community for all of the listed donations that we receive. And it is absolutely amazing what the community does for our school children. Absolutely amazing. So we always are very thankful for the type of donations that we get. So I'm looking for a motion for the approved listed of donations.
I will make a motion to approve the listed donations.
Second.
Got a motion by Ms. Henry, a second by Ms. Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And that brings us to item number 28. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Got a motion by Ms. Grant. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Cox. We are adjourned.